If it's not for blooper reels, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Especially vBrownBag stuff. All right, so talk to your fans. No, I'm kidding. Talk to me. 3, 2. Welcome to another episode of vBrownBag Meet the Expert. Today I have the great pleasure to introduce Jonathan Frappier. I hope I said that right.
Nailed it.
Oh, awesome. And I don't think, have you seen any of these?
Nope.
Nope? You don't know what we're doing here?
I know what we're doing.
Okay, good. Please introduce yourself and we'll take it from there.
My name's Jonathan Frappier. Work at Dell EMC currently. You can follow me on Twitter at jfrappier. If you want to connect, reach out, chat about a thing, that's the place I'm most likely to reply.
Okay, so these talks are mainly to get to know you. And what I love to start with is, how did you ever figure out that you wanted to get into IT, and how did you get into IT? What was your first IT job and stuff?
I was standing above a grill in a restaurant in August, which is reasonably hot in Massachusetts, taking down grease traps, and decided that I probably shouldn't be enrolled in culinary arts anymore because I didn't want to spend the next however many years of my life doing that. So I got home, went to bed. Next morning I called the school up I was enrolled at to start as a freshman the following year and said, switch me to computer science. And they said, nope. And I said, yep. And they said, okay. And the condition was I had to meet with a counselor because I almost didn't graduate high school. I had to take 2 extra classes senior year to get enough credits to graduate on time. And so that was the condition to let me into computer science, and went from there.
So why computer science? Why didn't you tell them, hey, I want to do
why? I didn't have really a good answer. It seemed like there was a lot of potential in that field at the time. That was 96 or so.
So when you said computer science, were you thinking I'm going to be a programmer?
That was the first thought. So the first year was a lot of C++, Visual C++. It was only an associate's program, so it was 2 years in, and I didn't feel anywhere remotely qualified to call myself a programmer or even apply for programmer jobs. So the first job I applied for was a desktop support position, and got into that and stopped programming and got really.
So when they hire you for desktop support, did you come in and say, hey, I run my own computers, and what were your qualifications? Because you came in from like a programmer side.
My qualifications were pretty slim, but the person that hired me had, I think they were looking for a little bit more enthusiasm than previous experience. I hadn't owned or turned a computer on before I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
So that was the first time I had done that.
That's pretty cool.
So
I didn't know that about you at all.
I didn't have a computer growing up as a kid, so it's not like I hear a lot of stories like, oh, I had a computer as a kid and I loved building them and taking them apart. Nope, I touched mine when I was a senior in high school, when I took my first computer class.
Okay. So what did you think of that desktop support role? Because it's a fine balance between a bunch of little skills.
Yeah, it's the position that I think helped me the most for it. When I was in college, I worked at CompUSA, and at the computers were not. Everyone didn't have a computer yet at that point, so people were coming in, buying their first computer, telling me what they were trying to do, and 99% of the time they needed to print a Word document. So they were really just expensive typewriters to a lot of people. But you had that mix of then businesses that were coming in and trying to set up email for the first time or set up websites for the first time. So there was this wide range of people that you had to talk to, from I need to know how to start Word and click print to I need to know how to set up a website or an email system. So that position really helped me within the first couple of minutes of a conversation be like, oh, I know how technical I need to be in this conversation or not. And I think that's probably the biggest skill on desktop support, is just knowing, are you going to say words that people don't understand, or maybe even you in over your head at this point and you need to go get some help to set something up that might be a little more advanced.
Yep. And service with a smile and and basically never make fun of anybody, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Cool.
And admit your mistakes. I mean, that was something I always or admit you don't know a thing. So I think that first job, I got a lot of street cred the first time around. I would, it was a smaller company, about 200-300 people or so. So I mean, we were really close to the executive staff there. the CEO, I remember the first time my boss set me up, I had been on the job maybe a couple months, and he asked me a question. I said, I don't know, let me go find out. And I left, I asked somebody who knew, we figured out how to get it working, and I went back and set it up, and it built a lot of credibility that I would admit to not knowing how to do something, but was willing to go find the answer and learn how to do it and then help people out.
When did you change jobs and why? That was your first job?
That was my first job. So one of my first projects there, probably about 6 months in or so, was to upgrade our server infrastructure from NT4 to Server 2000.
So end user and server?
Yep. So it was, I got into the server side quick and you know, server applications and design, you know, had to do a lot of work at that point to, you know, what applications that were going to work on Windows 2000 versus NT versus that we had to upgrade, and the impact, and a lot of design work, which sort of got me interested in that part of the field.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Hashtag bloopers. That sort of turned me on to more networking and server focus, and by the time we actually finished that upgrade project, VMware had just started to become like a thing, you know, come out of, that was 2000 or so, you know, they had just like virtualized their first Windows machine, and it took like 20 minutes or whatever to boot up, but it was becoming a thing, and it solved a lot of the challenges.
So we hear about VMware, that is something coming back?
Yep. So the first platform I deployed there was Microsoft Virtual Server, because it was free at the time, so I could do that. And just in that time frame, it was solving a lot of challenges that smaller IT shops were having. So I finally did my first actual vSphere deploy about 2008, and we. It was you know, it was a lot of sneaking around back then, at least on the SMB side. So it was, oh no, VMware, we can't run our stuff on VMware, it won't work. You start digging in and you find out that companies were trying to, they heard about VMware, they heard about virtualization, but maybe they didn't have the right resources to do it properly. So this one company I was at that claimed their software wouldn't run right, that same old story from years ago. Our software won't run on VMware. Well, you did it on 10-year-old computers that you had lying around that you were otherwise ready to throw away. Of course it's not going to work properly. So that was, we got that ESXi 3.5 in.
Is this with the same company you said?
Different company.
Okay, so when did you move out, and when you did move out, did you get the same kind of job, or did you go directly to server, or?
I went to so the first IT job I was at for about 5 years. They were getting rolled up into their parent company, and hopped around for a couple of jobs there to try to find the right one, and so I went from that desktop support to more all the things support at that company to more of a network and server focus.
Okay, cool. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Did you at some point say, maybe I want to be a network administrator?
That's what I thought I wanted to be for a long time, but anytime I would get a network focused project, I'd ramp up, learn what I needed to learn, and then I'd stop. So 3 months later, you know, I set up routing that one time on that one box, but I don't remember, like I'd have to go learn it all over again. So server support, application support was more of a ongoing
easier
gig.
Okay, yeah. Okay. And when you finally did start with VMware, because I know you work with, still to this day, you work with a lot of large VMware, or very, I think you said you're a lab manager, or?
We have,
I remember you used to run the old lab software that VMware had.
Yep, so now we have, you know, we've got a vSphere deployment that's about reasonably small in the grand scheme of the world, but it's bigger than I've ever had to run. You know, we're north of 30 hosts and a couple extreme IOs, which is the benefit of working for a vendor, is that you get hardware sometimes. So yeah, we build nested labs that run basically the full suite of VMware products, so that our internal Dell EMC folks can get training and get hands-on without needing a lot of hardware. So
when did you do that change from customer to vendor?
It'll be 4 years ago in May.
Okay.
So I was at my second stint at a customer company, I had gone one time, didn't work out, went back, and they EMC had called me up, and another company had called me up about job offers, and I had actually taken a different one. The EMC interview hadn't gotten lined up yet. I was signed. I had paperwork in hand to go work for this other company, and then EMC finally called me back, and there was going to be a few more perks, I guess. People that know me know I don't like to travel. So EMC, there was going to be no travel, but I already had this other job offer, and they wanted to set up, the typical couple interviews and whatnot. So I told them they had, an hour on Thursday. If they wanted to hire me, that was the opportunity. So they got like 6 people in a room and just grilled me for an hour, and made me an offer. So I've been there ever since.
All right. So when did you actually get started with vBrownBag in all of this?
I got started with vBrownBag. Hi, Chris.
Hi guys. Sorry, never listened to recording.
It's like 5 bloopers already.
Yeah. vBrownBag. So I was 2012 or so.
Which job was that?
That was after so that company I was with for the second time, it was after I left them for the first time and got acquired, went to another company that got acquired again. Pause.
Yeah, I'll edit it out. This is my sister-in-law who's in Boston. Van, ¿está bien? Disculpame. ¿Qué pasó?
This episode is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'.
Entonces, no, tranquila. Sigue tranquila, no te preocupes. Sí, bastante seguro. Yo soy L. ¿Cuánto vale el hoodie? Démosle, date esa 45. Y comparte la camisa vos, o si no, una L. Ok, sorry. Bye bye. Bye bye. So, you both know that my sister-in-law's visiting Boston for the first time, blah, blah, blah. No?
No.
So, she's from Costa Rica. She spends her January basically with us. And so I told her, I'm going to Boston. You want to go see Boston? And I just dropped her downtown while I'm here.
You just left her alone?
Yeah. I just said,
You're like, Boston, see ya.
you have a phone, here's $200, go crazy. I'll pick you up around 5. All right.
Well, Andy gave her your credit card on
My Uber,
so.
just in case, yeah. So 3, 2, 1. Sorry about that. You were telling me about when you started with vBrownBag.
vBrownBag. So I was studying for my VCP, and I was watching a lot of the vBrownBag videos. And Cody Bunch.
Who was the host then? Just Cody?
It was Cody, Damian Carlson, and Josh Atwell. Nick Marshall. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody, but if I am, I'm sorry. And so they were doing some VCP study stuff, and was watching those live, and Cody threw out a tweet saying, hey, we need help doing things. And I said, well, I use your thing, so what do you need? And he's like, we need videos to be edited. I said, I'll video edit. I know how to use Camtasia, right? So I could just cut out tweaks of Chris Williams walking in and interrupting and whatnot. Kyle approves. So that's how I started it, They'd record. If somebody messed up, I'd edit it and upload it. And that was about the end of my involvement. So there were weeks on end where I might not do a thing at all. And somewhere along the way, I don't know what happened.
The 4 guys left and told you, hey, Jonathan, run this.
They were like, good luck. We don't have anything scheduled. Thanks, Damian and Cody and Josh. And I don't know, here we are. It's 5 years later, 6 years later almost.
And just for everybody who doesn't know, Jonathan basically runs the show. You do all the scheduling. You help a lot with getting. At some point, we had someone else, prodding for host and who's gonna. Are you okay? But you basically are the fallback to most things in vBrownBag. So you're really the workhorse over here.
Well, it's definitely, it's not possible without everyone. So the 2 people standing on the other side of the camera right now have bailed me out on more than one occasion. You've bailed me out on many occasions when we need hosts. So, I mean, if it were literally just me, vBrownBag would have died, you know, a long time ago. But there's been people along the way, Ahmad, Eunice, Kyle, Chris, who host all the time, you know, and people come and go, you know, they have cycles, you know, sometimes they're a couple months, sometimes they're a couple years, and, you know, it keeps going because of people in the communities who either used it or saw it or saw an opportunity to help out or said something on Twitter once and I said, hey, you're doing vBrownBag tomorrow.
And that's a very important thing that you don't really ask, you won't tell.
Yes. So we're talking about Kyle Ruddy earlier, and his he did a VCP session for one of the series we did, and at this point I think it might be the most viewed session of all time.
No kidding.
It at least was for 2016 and 2017, so most of 2017 I'm assuming it's still up there. I've not looked at numbers lately because I gave up after we broke 1 million minutes viewed in 2017, so we almost did it in 2016. Mic drop, I'm out, 1 million minutes, thank you very much.
What has vBrownBag given you? Because I know you've given a lot to vBrownBag, and I know all of us who are in vBrownBag, we share the spirit, but what have you gotten out of vBrownBag?
You, Chris, Kyle, just awesome people to do stuff with.
And an ulcer.
No, I don't think, yeah, maybe 2.
What do you say?
Ulcer. And ulcer. I don't think it's given, only when I have to fly to VMworld because, again, I don't like, I'm not a fan of flying, so I sleep fine after a couple months once I get back.
All right, so we're getting to know Jonathan. What else? I know some of the most retweeted tweets of the last 3 or 4 months have been you reaching out to people on Twitter telling, hey, if you're dealing with problems, if you're dealing with depression, you know, let us know. You know, we're here to talk to you. So tell me more about that, because I've seen other people follow that lead that you started and basically say the same things, and you know, it really opened up a lot of. I've seen them 50 favorites and 100 favorites and retweets, and there's apparently a lot of people that really sometimes need someone to talk to.
Sure.
So tell me more about that.
Are you sure you're giving the right person credit for that? I don't remember did I do that?
I'm pretty sure it did.
I did that? Sweet, I did that. I know Brian Graff did it just recently.
But you did it.
Brian Graff.
Yeah, but you did it, I think, after last year's VMworld.
So
that was the first time I saw it, at least, and I remember it was like popular.
It, you know, I struggle a bit with my career, and it's interesting. You know, I've sort of got, you know, my priority list, right? And so I try to make decisions based on that list. And for me, it's family, friends, health, education, work. So family comes before everything else. So I've had job opportunities that I think would have been really interesting, but I would have been on a plane 2 or 3 days a week, which would have obviously interfered with number 1. So I turned it down. And as a technologist who wants to do new and different things and work on emerging technologies, it sort of hits. It sort of hits me and makes me struggle a little bit with, like, well, am I falling behind the curve? You know, what are other companies doing? What am I seeing out there?
The grass is always greener on the other side. In vBrownBag, we're always dealing with people who are very good at something that's very new. So.
Yeah. So it's, I know I struggle with it. I talk to other people who mention that they struggled with it. And so, you know, it's you know, if you're struggling, if you think that you're stuck, if you're in a position that's really hard at work, you're not getting support from work people. I was at one company, I spent a year basically being on call every other week for the year, which for anyone that's been on call, that's like horrible. It took me about 6 months to get over my phone ringing after I left that job. My phone would ring and I wasn't even there anymore. Yeah. My stomach would just sink and I'm like, oh wait, I don't even work there anymore. So, you know, it's hard, and you think you're alone, and you think there's nobody else in that boat, but you know, there are. So
no, there's a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure I give you the right credit. I'll make sure to put that tweet there, because you know now you're making me doubt. No, I'm pretty sure it was.
Or whoever did it, then that was.
Yeah, well, thank you. No, but I'm pretty sure it was you. What else do you? So I know you have a very cool blog, and I know you're always learning stuff. So maybe tell us about your own process of how you deal with emerging technologies, with things that are, you look at it and you say, that looks kind of nice. What do you normally do?
So one of the cool things about my career path, I guess, is that I've had a lot of different organizations that I've supported. So I don't necessarily have a hard time understanding where the benefit is for some technology, because I've got a lot of use cases recently where I can be like, oh, I can see how that would support application deployment or support disaster recovery or support an exchange deployment. And when there's some new piece of technology, I look at the past experience I have and say, how would this have solved, some manual process that maybe I was doing at that time, or just a difference on design opinion, with hyperconverged when that was becoming a thing, and getting away from that traditional architecture. Like, how would that have changed what I did 2 or 3 years ago, and try to apply that mindset to the new technology. And so far, it's worked out.
So what do you normally, you study on your own? Do you?
It's study on my own, home lab. When we're doing lab work at the office, Monday through Friday, try to see where it would fit in there, how something might get automated, or some new tool that we can put into the lab process. Test it out, see if it works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, so I know Matt Brender, I hope I said his name right, was the guy that started Commitments. But I know you had a very heavy hand in it too. So could you tell me about that? Because I thought that you were Commitments all the time or something.
So yeah, Matt started Commitments, would have been 4 Christmases ago, so 3 years ago. And it was really meant just to be a way to get people introduced to GitHub. So the premise at that point was, notice I use premise properly. The premise was that put something into GitHub every single day, just to get into the habit of using the tool, the process, the whatever workflow you wanted to align to, and just get used to it. Start sharing and contributing that way. Reasonably popular, 20, 30 of us or so, we're chatting all the time and supporting each other, some more than others. I was just figuring out how to get Git installed on my machine, never mind, write code or anything like that. So, as Cody does often in this story so far, he said there needed to be more commitments. So we did...
Edict.
Yep.
There was an edict.
And that's literally, I think, all he said. He said there needs to be more of this. And so somehow that turned into doing live vBrownBag episodes on Git every night for the month of December, minus Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So I think we did about 22 or 23 live episodes Monday through Friday. You talk about, vBrownBag being a team of people. Like, there's zero chance one person could have pulled that off. We had 4 or 5 different people hosting. Chris probably did a handful of them on his own. And people coming on, and we started with, here's how you get it installed, through here's how you do cherry picking. And quite honestly, I don't even remember that episode anymore now, but I just love the title of it. And so we tried to keep that going. It sort of reached the point, I think, where, from a content perspective, what we're producing from vBrownBag, we hit all the things. So this past year, we decided to say, this is it for formal commitments. We still are doing Git-related, code sharing-related episodes on vBrownBag in December.
When Commitments started, it felt like very, very fringe compared to the typical vBrownBag content. But now it's
our biggest episodes when it started were more around VCP study. It was a studying for a certification. This was way outside of that realm and probably outside the comfort zone for a lot of people, which is what I saw it from the perspective of the development teams I was working with at the time and what they were doing, and I wanted to be able to speak that language and, what do they mean when they commit or merge or fork something? I don't understand any of these words, so I want to learn that. So it was great that Matt started that, and as he tends to do, gets the community riled up around something and involved with something and learning something new.
See, I thought you were Commitments all the time in the background and just learning, because I know that you learned. I came here to listen to you talk about Ansible and vSphere, right? So I knew that you've been doing that for years. So by this time, when most of my customers are now, or a lot of the people I know are interested in it, I know you've been doing it for a while. So I thought, Jonathan's always cooking up something there in the back burner.
I try to keep up with it in what's coming. There's been a lot of the last couple of companies I've worked at, we've had a lot of really interesting use cases and new ways to try to do a thing. So yeah.
Cool. All right. So before we leave, anything for your fans?
They're right there. I got 3, 4. Wow, there's 4 people.
No, but seriously, anything that I didn't touch on that you might want someone to know about you, that maybe I've painted too much of not a complete picture about yourself and your career and where you are, who you are, and where you come from.
That's a big question.
I know. But we want to meet Jonathan.
I'm just a guy on Twitter.
Listen,
who tries
you're
to do
super
some
funny.
stuff.
You're super funny. You come out as super straight and super serious, but you're super funny all the time.
I don't know what he's talking about. Nope, that's everything about me.
Okay, that's everything. We got the whole
You need
picture.
my social security number?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
All right, Jonathan, how can people find you? And I know you have a very nice looking blog.
jfrapp.com, 1P, and at jfrappier on Twitter.
Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.